Hello everyone, I'm going to show you how I map golf greens using mostly free stuff. Um, Basically you're going to need Google Earth Pro, which is free now, um, Inkscape, which is free, and you need some string. Going to need a clipboard and some paper, a pen. The only thing that really costs anything is the Exelys Breakmaster. I'll put a link to it. Yeah, I don't get paid for it or anything, but it's the only thing that costs money. It's somewhat expensive, but it's worth it in my opinion. So anyway, off we go, and we'll go ahead and get started. So first thing, Google Earth Pro. Um, go to your preferences and make sure in the navigation part, do not automatically tilt while zooming is selected. This will save you a lot of headaches, and I wish I would have known this earlier, but I'm trying to save you the headache. So anyway, basically we're going to zoom in on the green. This is the sixth hole at the Indian River Club in Vero Beach, Florida. It's an interesting green. It has a big ridge to the right of it, which kicks everything left. But once you get on the green, it looks like everything goes right. So it's somewhat confusing to people. So you can kind of see it. Yeah, we're going to zoom in. And we're going to orient it so it's like you'd be playing the hole. You'd be coming into it. You're going to use the ruler here. We're going to get like directions and the distance in yards, how big the green is, like deep and how wide it is. And I like using multiples of 5. So there we go. So this green is about 31 yards deep. It's on a westerly heading, 270, 269. And it is, let's see, about 30 yards, 29 yards wide. So we can use 30 by 30 grid. And I'll show you how to do that in a little bit here. But after you get those measurements, write those down somewhere so you don't forget them. And I'm going to make a 5-yard long line here, straight up and down as I can get it, as close to 5 yards as I can get it. And you'll see why here in a minute. So there's 5.03, so yeah, about 3/10 of a yard off, pretty close. I'm going to copy this image, and we're going to go over to Inkscape. You can get Inkscape for Mac or a PC or Windows, whatever. Put some guidelines here in so we know where, once we put the image on, where the edge of the paper is. And we're going to paste the image on. Right, now we're just going to kind of set this down and kind of center it up a little bit. Probably set it towards the bottom so I can, put like a compass in the title of the hole or whatever on top. There we go. Zoom in. So yeah, that's good enough. You can see that line. And what we're going to do now is we're going to take the Bezier tool, and we're going to make a line in Inkscape on top of it. So it's a 5-yard long line, and we're going to change the width to 3 pixels. It's just preference, you don't have to do that. And zoom out. Next, we're going to move that over into the white area, and we're going to create a 5 by 5 square with this. We're going to hit Control D to duplicate the object, and then I'm going to hit the rotate button. There you go. So there's your Control D, then there's the rotate. So now just build the square out from this, and really try and get it precise. I mean, I always get spaces in these for some reason, just because it's not quite on, but it's close. Try it. So there's nothing, no open space and no overlapping. You'll get the idea once you try this. And the last step in this is I'm going to group the entire thing. So I'm going to select everything that we just made there, so I can work with it as one thing. And you go Object and Group. You can also hit Control G. Works good. And I'm going to set the opacity to 35%. Sounds good. That way, when you're writing on the paper with the grid on top of it, it won't get in your way too much, but you can still see it. So we're going to go to Edit and Clone, Create Tiled Clones, and we're going to do 6 by 6 because it was 30, 30 by 30, so 6 and 5 is 30. And there's our grid. Now I'm going to group the grid, and we're going to set that aside, ignore it for a few minutes, and we'll use it later, but you can see now it's grouped, and I can move this grid around. And keep in mind, keep everything the same size because it's all relative at the moment. Once you get everything set up together, you can change the size, but not right now. This next thing, we're going to outline the green using the Bezier tool. And just kind of click around it. It doesn't have to be real perfect. In fact, I messed up a little bit there, but we'll fix that in a second. And go around the dark edge, basically where it curves, I guess works best. And don't worry, I won't make you sit through me doing the entire green complex like this, but I want to show you how to get at least the green in. So we'll go to this little guy over here, the edit path by nodes, hit Control A to select all the nodes, and then this little make selected nodes smooth, and it makes everything look really cool. There's that one little spot I messed up a little, so we're going to slide that back down so it looks a little more normal. Close enough. Alright, so there's one. Nah, it's okay. I'll just Control Z, undo that. Alright, so got a little bit more done here. Next thing, one thing I did want to show you more is when you're doing this, sometimes you'll want to put straight lines in, and you don't want to curve them. So here we go. We're going to make like a straight line here to represent the edge of the page. I go to my little tool here and select all of them. I'm going to hit Shift and select to, or Shift and click to unselect the two here. And that way they just don't get curved, which that's cool. Alright, so now we've got our green kind of mapped out, and I'm going to slide the grid on. And I'm going to get it, trying to line it with as much as possible. This looks like it aligns on two sides, and then there's two sides that the east-west part really doesn't line up as much, but there's not a whole lot overhanging, so it's not bad. So let's get this really precise here. And there we go. Maybe a little bit better. Yeah, that looks pretty good right there. So now we're going to delete the background picture and group everything together, and now we have a green we can work with. Alright, so now that's all grouped together, and you can see I've added a few different things here. I've added a little grid system, letters and numbers. I'm going to add a little compass here. Shift and 8 will give you a star tool. You can choose the number of corners. I choose 4 because it's just cardinal headings. West will be on top because it's green goes west. So it's generally a downwind green on the east coast of Florida. Just type in my N, S, E, and W here, and I'll slide them into place. And this is just for reference. You probably don't have to do this, but just, I don't know. I seem to like the look of it. So now we're actually on the actual golf green. We're putting the strings out. I have 3 strings, and they are 40 yards long each. They are marked off every 2.5 yards. Blue is 2.5. Red is 5 yards. And one of the tricks when you're doing these strings, lay them out side by side and mark them so they're all identical. That way they line up and you have to remeasure. It's really, get it all done at once. And line up strings on the greens. I use my iPhone compass. Probably not the most accurate compass in the world, but it seemed pretty close. And this is just on this is a northerly heading, and we're measuring east-west every 2.5 yards. So I'm kind of going what would look like up and down on the picture. So I'll go over to this blue mark here, the 1/2 yard or the 2.5 yard mark. So on the grid it will be in the middle. And this string obviously is marked the same way. So we'll line it up with the other blue mark down at the on the other string, which is set up identically to the string on the top of the green there. And then we just we'll take our Breakmaster and we'll measure every 2.5 yards, write them down, and just keep doing that until we run out of green. And as you can see, the red should be on top of the blue there, but it's a little off. I've basically done the whole green already, and to be that small of an amount off is really not that big of a deal to me. So we'll go ahead and take our Breakmaster here, turn it on, and put it down here. This will be 1.9 degrees right to left. So I'll go I write that down. Up, just change it 2 degrees right to left. So we'll go ahead and mark that down. Little arrow going right to left, and 2 degrees on the bottom. One thing to take note of: the Breakmaster works in degrees, and I'm an aim point guy, and aim point is percentage of slope, and the conversion is basically 1.7. So you're going to multiply 2 by 1.7, you'll get 3.4, so it's 3.4% break right to left there. Just keep that in mind. You can use either way. Like I said, I like the aim point express stuff, and that works real well for me. So I've added a couple of symbols here. Circle with a little X in it. It represents sprinkler heads to me. That's a box, and that's a drain, like a box with a cover or whatever. These all exist around this green, and it helps you just to figure out your position when you're actually on the green and have this little chart in your hand. So I'm going to draw a couple of arrows, actually 8 arrows to be precise, and put arrowheads on them. I have to make them way smaller than that, but so let's see here. Yeah, I got to make them smaller. So hang on for a second. We'll make this one smaller. And I use a Control D a lot, duplicate. It will save you a lot of time. So I'll move this over to the green to see what it looks like. It's still a bit big, so we'll make that even smaller. So now we're going to duplicate it and rotate it. Do that 4 times for each of the up, down, left, right. And now we'll move this one up, and we're going to kind of make these angled. They're going to have kind of a angle to the right, angle to the left, angle down, angle up. You'll get the idea. So yeah, there we go. We'll get our last one in here. And I'm looking at the paper that I wrote all the numbers down on while I was out at the green. And it's going to be 0.7. And the next one's going to be the one we actually saw me measure. It's going to be that right to left 2 degrees, which is going to be 3.4%. So we'll put that arrow there. We'll label it 3.4 underneath it. And one thing that I found while I was doing this, as I'm doing exactly the opposite of what I probably shouldn't say, since I measured from the west part of the green down to the east part of the green, so, top to bottom, as we're looking at the green in this case, it's a whole lot easier to put the arrows on in the same way you measured it. Just because the way you write or whatever, it'll make more sense. You can do it either way; they should line up. But I just found the way I write and stuff, it actually worked out way better and was way faster once I started getting this going a little bit more, to go from A6 down to A1 and B6 down to B1 and just doing that. And but yeah, do it however you like, whatever feels comfortable to you. So anyway, you get the idea. There's the last one I'm going to show you here. And I actually made the arrows a little bit smaller. I'm going to make them even smaller yet. But you can see there's the yeah, that's a lot better, and you'll see what it looks like in the end here in a second. So yep, yeah, that's just the difference there. But here's our finished product. All the arrows and all the percentage of slope, all the location of the sprinkler heads and the covers and the drains. There's a couple of trees that are pretty obvious. That palm before the gap is a couple of palm trees there, but there's one palm tree and there's a gap between it, so you kind of know where you're at. There's a grouping of 3 at the edge of the sand trap there, and the trap actually keeps going quite a bit, as you probably saw on the overhead. But anyway, you can now you be on the green. And the grid system kind of helps, I find, if you're at like E3 and you have a putt down to C3 or C4 or something. So like E3 to C4, you'd go, okay, yeah, that's pretty much downhill and pretty steeply downhill. So I don't want to hit this too hard. And anyway, that's just how I map greens. It may be a little bit extreme, but hope it helped and hope you enjoyed it. And thank you for watching.